So we're going to try something different recording today. I'm going to try 1440p 24 frames a second. See if YouTube handles the more cinematic approach to sort of fast moving cycling videos. Alright mate. It's damn cold this morning, so we'll see how camera works with cold weather. It's only about 4 or 5 degrees at the minute. Lovely morning to be out on lane though. If we keep cadence up, should keep warm. So Crestwell Climb branch line. They've done a fantastic job of converting this. And again, we're on the Cube Kathmandu 8 Pro, I think it is, 800 watt hour. Latest Bosch Smart system, and just generally a really nice bike for this kind of riding. I think so far we're over 400 mile in on this bike, and the only thing I've had to deal with is the spokes not tightened properly on back wheel front PDI, which is not bad. Nice to say I'm not the only crazy person out in this temperature. Just give them a warning in case they got headphones on. Yeah, they got headphones on. More nut jobs on cycles. All right. Morning. Right. See if we can get off at Clandrail. First time I've been up here. Nicer than coming up main road though, to get to the same point. Morning. Be interesting to see what this 1440p looks like, because 1080/60, although the original footage looks amazing, even using Insta360's studio app on PC, once uploaded to YouTube, YouTube's 1080p/60 looks horrendous. Even if I use the same constant bitrate as what I did 4K, it uses the AV1 codec instead of VP9, and it just looks awful, especially riding up here. As soon as it gets to the trees, 1080p, no matter what you do to it on YouTube, just seems to lose its shit basically. It looks horrendous. Now, whether this is just YouTube not dedicating the amount of bandwidth to a smaller channel, because my cycling channel is not really used, it's definitely not like my RC channel. Whether it's that, or whether YouTube just doesn't care about 1080, so they're not putting any effort in. The strange thing is, re-encode 1080 to 1440, so we know there's no additional data, but that then did force the VP9 codec, but it still didn't look amazing, which is really unfortunate, because the Insta360 Go Ultra does an absolute cracking job of 1080p/60 video. It looks so clear, like really crystal clear, smooth as anything, but as yet I've really not found a way to utilize it in YouTube. And it is only with video footage where the whole frame's in action, so if you stood still you can quite easily use 1080p/60, but I've tried it at 120,000 kilobytes a second encoding. Tried MP4, QuickTime, tried H.264, H.265. Although it alters the file size difference, just none of it can really seem to get YouTube to play. It just looks awful. I think if you were viewing it on a mobile phone it'd be passable, but as soon as you put it on a PC monitor, or certainly on a TV, it just looks horrendous. The artifacting in it just breaks the actual want to watch it, in my opinion, which is why I've done a whole bunch of these videos just showing you what different settings are, using the Insta360 Studio to export, using DaVinci Resolve, which I use a lot on the RC channel. Certainly seems wetter than I thought it'd be today. Well, they definitely gave me plenty of room. Not sure why they bothered overtaking. But it takes all sorts. This is quite a nice bit of A619. Certainly on a on my normal road bike on Defy, I've come flying down here quite a lot. Really enjoyed it. Surprised how many joggers and cyclists I've seen so far, or active people. Yeah, roadies tend to ignore you if you're on an e-bike. no matter what kind of bike it is. As I've said in other videos, I do think a road-based e-bike should be allowed 20 mile an hour. Just makes more sense. We are seeing more 20 mile an hour speed limits in towns, cities, villages now. It should just be nice to be able to keep up with traffic all the time. Quite a rarity, we've just gone past a working late model GS. Not really sure what BMW did with later GS's, but from people I know that's owned them, not an enjoyable experience. Far too many issues, engine rebuilds and such, under warranty taking months and months. Well, I think for us ride out, this should be about as high as we're going to get altitude wise. Got a good bit of flying downhill to do now. But 3.3 mile in, a probably 24 stone rider, and we've used 8% of battery. If I have a quick look, so we've done 446 feet of climbing elevation wise, and it says we've got 30 mile left. Certainly if you're a heavier rider, cadence helps with the climbs and not hammering your battery as much. Been studying quite a few videos and write-ups of the DJI Avinox motor in the Amflow. Certainly was something that I was interested at before I bought this, looking at it, but I know from a lot of the riding I do on my Trek Rail, it's got nearly 2,000 mile on that. Say Gen 3 I believe, 2023, 2024 model. Older Gen Smart system to this, but on the technical bits of climbs, and this is exactly the same. There's a hell of a lot of control you've got on the input from your pedals, no matter what rider mode you're in. If you want to go really steady, like as we were coming up off at Clown Trail, you can just gently rotate the pedals, and even in auto or turbo, it won't go max out balls to wall. But the Avinox motor, from everything I've seen, it doesn't know how much pressure you're applying to the pedals, or it in no way affects the ride mode, so it's basically flat out or nothing. And if you want a nice controlled steady ride, you have to change all your settings in the apps, back everything right down and delay it. But then if you get to a bit where you're like, I'm confident here, I can go for it, it's not an option of just pedal harder and it'll give you more assistance. So it's basically like a motorcycle motor. Not really sure how they got that legalised, or if nobody bothered trying it, but to me it'd just be an absolute no. I mean, I've took the rail to Cannock Chase, and there's some quite technical climbs there, especially for a bike with 29-inch wheels and really wide bars, and to just have the motor flat out or nothing would be very little use to me, which I'm guessing why we haven't seen so many manufacturers jump on the Avinox system. I don't believe for 1 second that it's something DJI can't do. I would think, because the motors are meant to sense torque, I would think it's likely they could do it in firmware, so it doesn't just look for with pedal rotation. It actually monitors the power and adjusts from that. I don't think it'll be out of the realms, but if it is, then it looks like a lot of people are just going to wait for the V2. I mean, it has been a cracking entry to the market. I do question. My main thing is with it at the moment, it's only any use for somebody that just wants to ride illegally, flat out everywhere with VPN. It's not really a serious use e-bike motor. Basically, if you run it in the highest mode, you're just going to run out of battery really quickly. But if you run it restricted to 15.5 miles an hour, it's just going to get up to that speed really quick. It's only a much heavier rider that would benefit from the extra power and torque. But then the bikes that they fit in it in don't seem to be aimed at a heavier rider. They all seem to be sort of flimsy little frames. And I know a lot of people have snapped the frames on the Amflow, trying to make them be more like what the sort of Trek rail would be able to handle. So yeah, definitely an interesting time with e-bikes. I think there should be a limit on power, just for sensibility reasons. But I do think in UK and Europe, and possibly Australia as well, 20 mile an hour limit would make more sense and probably stop an awful lot of people from being bothered chipping them. I mean, currently you can go from 15 mile an hour to sort of 25, 28 depending on bike, whereas if they up the limit to 20, you're going to be tapering off around 20, 21. You're going to be spending an awful lot of money for just like 5 or 6 mile an hour. I think that may put off a lot of people. The other thing I'm absolutely amazed at, I've not seen a way of sort of bypassing the bike's firmware. I know if anybody watches me YouTube channel, do a lot of firmware programming and such, and upgrading, downgrading. I'm surprised nobody's found a way to just take the American firmware on the Bosch smart system or non-smart and just flash it. I mean, ultimately it's only ones and zeros, so if you could find a way to get it into DFU mode, wipe it, flash it, and it just thinks it's an American bike. Not legal, but technically it'd be free, rather than paying 100, 200 quid for a chip that really doesn't do much. They're just altering the speed pulses. The technology in the chips can't be costing them more than 30 or 40 quid at most. There's just not a lot of technology there. I'm also surprised, it seems as though there's not really a legal use for them. I'm surprised the UK and European governments haven't closed down the resellers. There's no real use, because you can buy race versions if you race. So definitely a strange one. For me, I don't really care if somebody chips the bike or not. Certainly if they cause an accident that I'm involved in on motorbike or car and their bike's chipped, it would piss me off because they shouldn't be on road. Or if they hit me, family or friends doing illegal limit, yeah, I'd be really pissed off with them. But if they're just wandering around minding their own business, I don't really care what they're doing, as long as they're being safe. But I think an awful lot of people also, especially in UK, don't realise you get pulled up on a chipped e-bike if they decide that you're doing something really dangerous, or the police officer's having a particularly bad day, or you give them some lip. It can ultimately end up with you losing your car, motorcycle, truck license or all, because you're technically riding a motorbike with no insurance or anything, not road legal. And I certainly think a lot of people, when you look, if you're just blasting around on a bike just for laugh and you're just chipping it to get comms on Strava, seems a pretty high risk way of losing your car, motorbike license. Not only would it be really expensive to get back, probably a whole bunch of people it'd actually cost them the job or the living and make it a very unpleasant time for them. So people seem to think because it's a push bike it won't affect the car license or anything, but if you push it to the point where it's above 15.5 mile an hour assisted, technically you're riding a motorcycle or moped that's got no insurance or anything. So if you are unlucky or particularly gobby with police, you could certainly end up in a whole lot of pain with it. That, and if you hit somebody, you're going to get books thrown at you because you've run them over with an electric motorcycle that's not insured or anything. I think the main thing is people just be sensible and be safe with them. But I do think this has all been brought on by government making some ill-informed decisions. I'm taking it a lot of people that approve or disapprove these cycling laws don't actually ride e-bikes for any reason. Or they think an e-bike's a Saron that does 60 mile an hour. Or it's an e-scooter that are also illegal. And to be totally honest, the whole e-scooter thing, the amount of people I've seen go flying over handlebars with tiny wheels, I don't think they'll ever belong on a road, and I certainly don't think they belong on a pavement. And when you've got road legal e-bike fold-up bikes and road bikes and off-road bikes, the whole e-scooter thing, especially with the price of the higher end ones, it all seems a bit pointless. They're not as safe, they're not as comfortable. You stood up on them, you can put good brakes on them, but then you'll just go flying straight over handlebars. Certainly a weird thing. I suppose technically easier to take into your place of work, but then again, if you're cycling to work, you've probably got a cycle bay at work, and a push bike's probably easier to lock up than an e-scooter. An e-scooter's definitely going to be more likely for somebody to pick it up and carry it away. Right, I am not attempting this roundabout today with a truck. So let's see if we can escape over some traffic lights, or at least some decent crossing. Yeah, way safer. Far less likely to be squished. Now, believe it or not, that's a 40 mile an hour roundabout, but I've seen people come around here doing like 60, 70. It is crazy. Are they going to come through on red? Definitely thinking about it, weren't they? Right. Worksop, the land of stop at green traffic lights and go through on red. So this should be interesting. I do think there's a lot of things with e-bikes where shops need to take more responsibility. Certainly for looking after batteries. I mean, for me, after 2 years of owning the Trek Rail, I had it in for an issue where the sort of intelligence screen thought it was going downhill all the time. Swapped motor out a few times on it, still didn't work. But basically they do a full diagnostic on the bike, and after 2 years and nearly 2,000 miles, we're still looking at 100% battery health. And it's literally because I look after the lithium battery on the e-bike, same as an RC car. If I'm going to leave it for any amount of time, I try and aim for around 50% charge, certainly between 30 and 70, and just leave it and it's fine. I try never to drain it totally to zero and leave it. So although yes, it will start degrading your battery every time you drain it completely to zero, you're not going to do any damage if you drain it to zero and get it charged up quickly. When you do let them charge, don't just unplug them as soon as they get to 100%. It's got to balance all them cells. So when it gets to 100%, leave it until the bike actually switches off. That's the only time it balances all the cells, which means every one of them cells, if it's got a 4.2 volt target, that's where they'll be at. You don't have to do it every single time, but if you do, it's going to work better. It's going to prolong the life of batteries. You're not overloading a cell that's slightly lower than rest. But yeah, quite a lot of ways of looking after them. Absolutely amazed at the sound quality of this camera. Really does work well. Ah, another bank turned into a vape shop. Across road from another vape shop. Worksop, shop of vapes. I've often wondered if it's quicker to get through town on an e-bike than a car. Kind of looking like it is. Certainly not busy roads. Yeah. I think my great granddad is on there with his name spelt wrong. Put Saunders, not Sanders, I think.